Irene Bryant has had a dream of becoming a professional speaker ever since she gave her first talk in grade 6. Irene believes that with hope, the possibilities are endless. She says the most challenging and painful experiences often bring us closer to the realization of early dreams. Her miraculous healing of stage 4 throat cancer in 2000 has launched her into a speaking ministry where she shares her journey of love, faith, courage, and determination to overcome. Her talks and her recently published book, Finding Hope in the Midst of Adversity, have given people encouragement and tools to apply in their own life challenges, regardless of their faith and beliefs. Please help me welcome Irene Bryant as she shares her topic, Finding Hope, from the Calvary chapter.
What would you do if the doctors told you you only have a few months to live? What would you do? Would you believe them? Would you give up hope and die? Or would you fight for your life? When they told me 18 years ago that I had aggressive stage 4 throat cancer with a few months to live, I turned to my faith and prayer. That night, as I went to sleep, everything inside of me screamed out, "No, do not do that treatment." That took faith and courage. When you are facing a major decision, do you listen to your inner voice, to your intuition, to God, and take action on that? When I went back a couple of days later to the cancer clinic to tell them my decision, before I could say anything, they said, "We had a second look. It's worse than we thought. There's nothing we can do for you." Nothing. I walked out of there and I said, "I don't believe them. I believe you, God. I'll do whatever you want. You're either going to heal me or you're going to take me home to heaven, and either way, I win." That started a 2-year journey. I took action. I changed my diet. Took Chinese herbs, and phytonutrients, calcium vegetables. Hippocrates said, "Let your food be your medicine, and your medicine be your food." Most of all, I forgave. I forgave my husband of years of mental and emotional abuse. And I asked God to forgive me my resentment and my bitterness. Someone once said that holding on to bitterness and resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It doesn't work. It only eats away at us. Forgiveness doesn't mean that we condone the hurtful behavior. It gives us back our freedom, and it takes away the pain and the resentment and all of that. We take back our power. Is there anyone in your life that you need to forgive? Or to ask them for their forgiveness? It's a profound experience when you do. 15 months later, I was led to go back to the cancer clinic. Made no sense. Sis, can you see it now? I'm sitting there, looking at this doctor in his white coat, the calm look on his face, telling me our first line of treatment is to cut out your tongue and voice box. And we don't think we'll get all the cancer. I said, "Really? I'm a speaker." "No way." "No." What's the next option? 35 treatments of radiation with a 30% chance of just slowing it down. Not good odds, but I had peace for the first time to do radiation. When you are facing a difficult decision, do you follow the route that gives you the most peace? 35 treatments later, this was one huge radiation burn. I was 98 pounds, total totally exhausted on 400 milligrams of morphine, which didn't cut the pain. Every swallow was like swallowing razor blades. And I still had cancer. Tiny bit smaller, and that's all. 6 weeks later, 300 women prayed for me at a women's conference. I left. Went back on the Sunday, had more prayer, and left. 2 blocks away. Everything inside me said, go back, you're not complete. I went back. Pastor put her hand here, said Jesus is all she needs. Tremendous heat through the whole area. 2 days later at the cancer clinic, the doctors were shocked. They said the most we hoped for was to slow it down, and it is gone. Oh. Gone. Now, I'm not saying if everyone believes the way I do or did what I did that they'll be healed. I'm saying, encouraging you to listen. Listen to that inner voice, the message. Trust it, take action, and obey it, then receive. We're all going to die someday. Prepare for it. But then, focus on living. When I faced death and wasn't afraid to die, then I wasn't afraid to really live.
Is a full story. That's wow. There was so much in there, and I thought that your presence, your body, the way you moved you were so centered. You seemed just so in the story that you were telling us and sharing with us. So that I loved. I really loved how you changed your voice when you're making a point. So, and when you used a word like "you" around the, the pretty heavy story, but you added a little humor to give us a little break in this heavy story you were sharing with us. I was thinking about some of the things that Patricia Fripp has shared a few times, and I thought it would be so powerful as well if you perhaps began with, "I'm sorry, you're not going to live," or "I'm sorry, it's worse than we thought." If you started with that and take us into that room where you're hearing that news from your doctor, it's, again, what a powerful moment, and we can all imagine hearing that news. There were so many things I liked about it. Again, when you really emphasized the word "no," and then talked about and ended with, in this 5 minutes, the focus on living. That facing death allows you to live more. I thought it was incredible. Thank you.
Well said, Terry. Irene, I'm personally very touched by your story, because my family was also touched by cancer, so I could relive everything through your words, through your story. I found your story extremely empowering. You took us with us through the illness, but also through hope. Now, the challenge I think you have is that there are so many messages or possibilities, and this is just a little piece that you've done masterfully, because I come from a world of movie trailers where in 2-3 minutes you're able to tell the whole story, and you've told that story. Now, I imagine in a keynote you can go on and on and on. Now, my only remark would be that perhaps you can use more time to create that relationship with your audience instead of giving more details about the illness, more about how you felt, because there are so many things that are so compelling to us. Forgiveness, That is huge. Forgiveness will, I can't remember how you said it, but forgiveness will give you your power back. That is huge. And then you ended very, very strongly with, I wasn't afraid to really live. So that gives you another option to open up with, are you afraid to really live? And then you go on with your story, and you end with, I wasn't afraid to really live. Are you? You see, going full circle kind of wraps it up and creates that engagement. Irene, thank you so much for sharing your story, and bravo.
Everything they said. My sense, as you went through this absolutely phenomenal story, which you delivered brilliantly, was that there wasn't enough space. So a tendency we all have when we've been given a short amount of time is to try to squeeze as much in. But because there was a wonderful guy who spoke at NSA a few years ago. Vince, do you remember the musician who talked about the space between the notes? It wasn't about the notes, it was the space between them. Yes. That's the feeling I got as I listened to you. I was all the time trying to catch up. And as brilliant as you were as bringing us into the moment, I had just arrived at the moment before you were taking us somewhere else.
Right.
So there was not enough space for me to catch up with you. That would be one thing I would say. The amazing Warren Evans used to teach us about exit ramps. And what an exit ramp is if you say something that leaves the audience wanting more, and you move on, but we haven't moved on.
Right.
So the comment about the mental and physical abuse, for me, in a short presentation, I'm not sure I would bring it in unless I was prepared to spend, because you had me right, I was on the throat cancer, and then I'm on the abuse, and then I'm on, and so if you're going, it was an exit ramp for me, because while you were going on, I was going, no, I want to hear more about that. So careful about what messages you introduce that you don't finish.
Right.
And the third thing I would say, and this is a very personal thing for me, is it was closer to the end of your talk that you acknowledged that not everybody might have the same faith that you do.
Right.
For me, that's something I would put up closer to the front, because that could be an exit ramp too. If somebody who perhaps doesn't share your religious beliefs is kind of disconnecting. So I would acknowledge that up front, but I would also, in acknowledging it, say, whatever you believe.
Right.
You don't have to believe, but what do you believe?
Right.
Which also brings up the point that if you ask somebody a question from the platform, don't leave them without some possible answers. So if you ask us what we would have done, then you say, perhaps you would have X, or perhaps you would have Y, or perhaps, just so that we're not left with a question hanging. Okay? But it was masterfully brilliant. Masterfully.